You know, some things just vanish from history, right? They pass through, leaving behind maybe just a single whisper of a story. Well, today, we're going to chase down one of those whispers, a single forgotten tale from 1905 Rio de Janeiro, all tied to a vehicle that's long, long gone. All right, so picture this Rio de Janeiro around the turn of the 20th century. It's a city buzzing with change. You've got all sorts of horse drawn carriages on the streets, like the Tilbury, which stuck around for ages. But the Cabriolet? Man, its time was short, like really short. So brief, in fact, that its entire history has been boiled down to just one single story. And that quote right there, that's our promise to you. We are about to dive into that one defining story, pretty much the only reason anyone remembers the Cabriolet in Rio at all. It's a tale about love, about secrets, and about the most unlikely historian you could ever imagine. Okay, so who's at the center of all this? You might expect a detective or maybe some high society figure. Nope. Meet Juan das Mercedes. He was a middle-aged church sacristan, and he had this, well, you could call it a superpower. He knew everything about everyone. And you've got to understand this about him. This is the key. His curiosity wasn't about malicious gossip. He wasn't trying to stir up drama. For Juan, knowing all the intimate details of people's lives, that was his passion. It was pure art. He was a collector of human stories. I mean, just look at the list here, the sheer scope of what he knew. This goes way beyond idle chatter, right? We're talking about everything from business deals and family histories to what people were eating for dinner. The guy was a walking, talking archive of his entire parish, piecing it all together day by day. So this is where our story really kicks into gear. It's late one night, and an urgent call comes into the church. A priest is needed right away to give the last rites to two people who are dying, a young man named Pedrino and a young woman, Annunciata. So João goes along with the priest, and you can just imagine his mind racing. He knows the house they're heading to. It belongs to a powerful man, Comendador Brito. João knows this place inside and out, but these names, Pedrinho and Annunciata, he's never heard them before. So how could there be two dying strangers in a house where he thought he knew every single secret? So the priest administers the last rites, and afterwards, João manages to pull the comendador aside. The man is clearly distraught. He won't say much, but he leans in and whispers just three words: a terrible story. And that's it. That's all the bait João needs. His curiosity is now officially an obsession. He has to find out what's going on. Now, you think João is just going to go home after that? No way. He makes sure the priest gets back to the church okay, and then he turns right around and walks straight back to the Comendador's house. He finds the man just pacing back and forth, and he decides to wait. He just knows, a story this big, this terrible, it has to come out eventually, and he's going to be there when it does. This is the big question, isn't it? The one burning in Zhao's mind, and probably in yours too. What kind of tragedy could have brought these two young people to their deathbeds? As Zhao just sits there patiently with the grieving comendador, the story starts to come out, one painful piece at a time. And the first piece of the puzzle he gets, it's just heartbreaking. Padrino and Anancia, they weren't just acquaintances. They were fiancés. They were going to be married. So now this tragedy is even deeper, but it still doesn't explain what on earth happened to them. And then, as they're sitting there in the quiet, the tragedy gets even sharper. They hear this muffled sob from another room, and they know it's over. Annunciata is gone. The weight in that room becomes immense, and you can feel the comendador is about to break. He pulls Zhao over to the window, makes him swear he'll never tell a soul, and then he finally reveals the absolute gut punch at the center of this terrible story. The young couple, who'd been raised together, who were about to get married, had just found out some abominable news. They were brother and sister. I mean, can you even imagine? That was the impossible, soul-crushing reality they were facing. One minute, they're fiancés, destined for a life together. The next, they're siblings, and their love is forbidden. It was a paradox so horrific that, well, it was about to kill them. It's not long before another cry is heard from inside the house. Pedrinho is gone, too. And now that they're both gone, the comendador he breaks. He needs to tell someone the whole story. And he tells João everything, right down to the final terrible irony. So here's how it all went down. First, the discovery. They find out they're actually half-siblings, same mother. In their desperation, they think, maybe there's still a chance? So they elope. They jump in a cabriolet and flee, trying to start a new life. But it's no use. They're found almost immediately and dragged back in disgrace. And the public shame, the shock of it all, it was just too much. It broke them, physically, and they both came down with a fatal fever. Okay, now I want you to think all the way back to the beginning of our story. Think about that vehicle, the cabriolet, that's been in the background this whole time. The one that carried them away in their desperate bid for freedom. And here it is, the final, brutal twist. The carriage they used to escape, to run towards what they hoped would be a new life, was the very same one that just a few days later brought the priest to their home to give them their last rites. The symbol of their hope became the witness to their end. Now, remember, the Commendador made Juan swear to secrecy. But come on, a story this perfect, this tragic, this complete, in the hands of the ultimate connoisseur of stories, how could a story like that possibly stay a secret? And Juan, being the artist that he was, he couldn't resist one final touch. He actually went to the stable and confirmed it. It was the exact same carriage. Then, he just couldn't keep a masterpiece like this to himself. He tells a friend, but he's careful, he leaves out the names. Of course, that friend tells another, and that friend tells a few more. And before you know it, the story has a life of its own, forever known as the Anecdote of the Cabriolet. So in the end, the vehicle is gone, the lovers are gone, even our story collector Zhuang is long gone. All that's left is the story. A private tragedy that became a public legend. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it, as we go about our own lives, how many of our own dramas, our own secrets, our own terrible stories are just one curious observer away from becoming an anecdote for the ages.